We're going to be talking about...
I'm Marvel, he's DC, and fuck Independence.
Wow. That's not true.
As most people don't really know, I haven't talked about it in a while, but my favorite comic book of all time is Saga, and that is an Image book. So, fuck you. Why am I saying fuck you to the audience all the time?
You're an angry man.
I'm an angry, pissed off man.
Let's talk about Echo. So,
Echo.
the first official Marvel Spotlight project, the 5-part miniseries, Echo. We finally sat down to watch every episode, review it. All 5 episodes are available. And yeah, you kind of gave your thoughts last week because you watched the first couple episodes.
I watched like 2.5. Well, here's what's stupid is I started the next episode when I got home that night, and it started me on episode 4. And you know what happens at the end of episode 3.
Yeah.
So I somehow I somehow skipped an entire episode. So
that happened to me with Ahsoka.
Yeah, I started the end of episode 3. I saw that. Then I go into episode 4 and it's doing the recap. And, like, it's recapping all the shit that happened in the skating rink. And I'm like, I don't remember that. So I had to, like, go back an episode. And I already knew what happened at the end of that episode.
That was crazy. Okay, so you kind of gave your early thoughts. I want to kind of give mine, and then we'll go back and forth with it. Because I want to get some things out front. Because there's some things that I really liked in this show.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some... How it ends, I was kind of like... I wasn't... It has the problem... Well, I think it excels.
Did you see the end credits scene?
Yeah, but
Come on.
I want to just talk briefly before we get into that, because when I want to talk about Kingpin is not a spoiler, but what I will talk about with Kingpin will be spoilers. So I'm saving that for spoiler talk.
Okay.
But I have some thoughts on how Kingpin was used in this show, and there are some things that I really, really liked.
We talked about it during
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
Things that
with the fucking Hawaiian shirt and shit that pissed me off during the Hawkeye series.
There's just some
when they brought him back the first time.
So yeah,
I agree.
But overall, I think the action is well done. I think.
Watch that thing, dude.
Out of here.
Just
Dog's
move it
trying
to
to
the
eat shit. Eat my donut.
Chocolate donut
Kit
Kit
Kat. But I loved what they did with her backstory and having that setting with and being in Oklahoma and dealing with something that you don't really see much of. And I pointed this out when I was watching it with my wife. I was like, I've seen all of these actors before because there's so few Native American roles or indigenous actors that you see a lot of the same ones over and over.
Well, I told you about her dad. And how he's been in a bunch of stuff that I like, and I've seen him do like all sorts of...
He was in Reservation Dogs. He's the cop.
Yeah, he's in Reservation Dogs. He was in Fargo Season 2, History of the World Part 2.
And he's a good actor, don't get me wrong.
He's great.
But it's just like...
Graham Greene has been in movies for decades.
And
you know Graham Greene.
And then you see something like Prey, and you see the actors there. Like, the only other one I can think of is Amber Midthunder. Is it Amber?
Look it up. I don't know about you, but I just think it is so... Knowing what I know about what this country has done to the Native Americans that were here when the white man first came and up and through today, I think it is one of the coolest things to see... Amber Midthunder? I think it's one of the coolest things to see Native Americans like really turn up the pageantry and really just turn up the these are the old ways. And I loved the music in the show, that almost all of it was like in Choctaw or whatever.
Yeah. My gosh, dude.
So
again,
good.
So many things that I liked about this show, but there's just some things I just feel like it was weird and
what about the part where she like fucking took her foot and slammed it into Daredevil in that first episode?
The Daredevil
did
fight
you see the part
cool.
that I was talking about?
I liked it, but
did you see the specific part?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. But,
you sure?
Yeah, dude. Come on.
Because I rewound it like
Don't
3
make me
times.
get... It wasn't as cool as you made it out to be.
Are you serious? She took her...
It was a good fight.
Foot, and then she was like, flang. She pulled it
say,
back and... All right.
But point I was trying to make is, what I loved about it is Daredevil is only in that one scene.
Yeah.
where that's what it feels like to read a comic book miniseries where like some random character will come in the 1st issue to boost up sales, be a part of the story, integrate that character into that world.
And you know what I really liked about it is, along with that, is that...
Let's just get to it.
Oh.
Pizza time.
We're in spoiler territory.
What I really liked about it also is that when she met with Kingpin after that fight, and he was talking to her about like nobody's ever lasted that long, and it added an element of this has been going on for a while type of shit. Like the whole Daredevil Kingpin thing, which was cool.
Here's the thing. I think the first episode was a well done recap, and also establishing her inside the MCU.
I love
a timeline that works.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Daredevil and Kingpin, we don't technically know how much time has passed from that Netflix show to where they are, so you can kind of fill in that stuff. Yeah. And I think they do a good enough job with how they incorporate Hawkeye into this, how they incorporate Kingpin, and how they're really trying to establish this rebrand of their like street level heroes.
Yeah.
But then there's issues that I have with it where I feel like...
Well, what are they?
Well, I don't want to dominate the whole conversation, but I do not like how they use Kingpin. I don't like how he's used in this. Especially the ending. The ending to this show frustrates me on so many levels.
Why?
Because we're going to go back into his memories. We keep talking about how these are supposed to be grounded, street-level heroes, and then she literally time travels into his memories.
But she's a mutant.
Is that what they're trying to imply?
Well,
is that what you think?
In the comics.
I don't know anything about
the character. Sure, she's a mutant in the comics.
I don't know. I'll be upfront with you. I'm not offended by anything with lore or anything. I have no attachment to this character. I don't know anything about Echo. I just feel like how they were portraying this series and how it was going, I don't necessarily like the whole going back into Kingpin's memories bit. Like, that drove me nuts because I was like,
okay, fair.
It should have just ended when she shot him. Like, I feel like this whole thing doesn't make any difference. It doesn't add anything to me.
Okay, so she's a human. Okay, she's just a human, but she does become the Phoenix Force in the comics. So she's just a really badass fighter in the comics. She's not a mutant.
I just feel like
if they're trying to set her up to be part of the Phoenix Force thing like that, which is not a bad idea, you can use that to set up the Phoenix Force. You can make all those women part of the Phoenix Force, or like offshoot of it, maybe, and that's how she gets it.
I feel like I think they're trying. Excuse me. I think maybe if I look at it as them trying to do like a different style Iron Fist story where it's about an ancestral power and having that like a little bit of mythical element to them, I can kind of see them going that route. But like, it just doesn't seem. Maybe it's because it's only 5 episodes. I just don't feel like it's earned. You know what I mean? Like, narratively, you keep building it up as this gritty, violent, criminal show, and then, like, low-level show, and then all of a sudden she's going into this dude's memories. I feel like that's a lot. And it's the same issue I had with Moon Knight. It's the same issue I've had with a lot of these shows. There's just not enough. I feel like there needs to be 1 or 2 more episodes.
Okay, fair.
I don't think the 5 episode thing worked for me. I feel, and again, I feel like Kingpin, in my opinion, should have just been revealed that he's alive at the very end, and somehow, like, I thought her story and the thought of like the bounty on her head and the thought that Kingpin is dead this whole time would just be her fighting off, because she's still taking down Kingpin cartels and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would have enjoyed that more, I feel like, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think?
I was pretty much a fan of all of it. I like... that stuff just is intensely interesting to me. I grew up in I was born in North Dakota, and I grew up in Iowa, and I've always been very interested in Native American culture. That was one thing that really drew me to the series, that really drew me to the character.
Yeah.
I thought it was just really well done. The action sequences were really great. I do kind of agree with you. The ending was kind of like, what? But I don't know where they're gonna take her from now on. I don't know. But
I don't understand her powers.
she's just. I mean, again, I don't know. That's not from the comics, as far as I
Yeah, that's
can
different.
see.
What I've seen online is that it is different than the comics. Again,
Yeah.
I've never read anything about it.
So I don't know, but I mean, that's a cool way of, like, she's an echo of, like, all of her past selves.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent of the Bene Gesserit in the Dune series,
I just think
because they have, like, all of the powers of all of the women
So-
that came before them and all the wisdom and stuff. It's kind of the same thing.
I get the memories aspect, but like the
So does
power
the
stuff, I just feel like there should have been a couple, like 1 or 2 more episodes of her kind of figuring her powers out.
Sure.
To where she just like knows how to give them power. If that's her power set, that's fine. But you kind of, I need you to establish.
Yeah, that was weird
a little
too.
bit
That was a
more.
little weird. Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we just give them powers, what?
Yeah. I think again, 1 more episode
Sure.
or 2 more episodes
That's
would have
fair.
helped.
It's a fair criticism.
And that's really my only that specific, and it's the same issue I've had with.
I'd say I give it about I give it 4 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5.
No, overall, I really like this show. I think there's so many things that I really like.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think's frustrating. I enjoyed her story and her family's story so much and all of this stuff because, like you and I were talking about, I want to see more indigenous stories. I want to see more of these people getting an opportunity to tell their stories, and to see that and have all this really cool, like, it kind of gives me it reminds me a lot of like the whole it feels a lot like Wakanda and Black Panther with like how they're tying it into like the ancestors and there's so much stuff that I like about it, and I don't think I get enough of those stories. And
I as far as like
Cody Lightning is biscuits. I love biscuits.
Nahalos, not today Nahalos. Yeah, that was pretty fun. Yeah, he was really good. I like the story in general.
I love the supporting cast so much. I just think the Kingpin stuff was like, ugh, man, I wish there was more.
Ever since you had a kid, I know that your life has changed and your outlook on things has changed, but mine has in a lot of ways. And I understand a lot more the parent-child relationship both ways. And one of the things that really stuck with me was how well acted the show was in the dramatic moments when she saw her mom again, towards the end of that, I think, first episode or whatever. It's all about human connection, and that's what life is about. That's what the meaning. All of you can stop your quest. The meaning of life is connecting with other humans. That's what it's all about. And there are people out there who think that being a loner and everything is the way to be, and that's fine, but they still deal with people on a daily basis, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always felt like the meaning of life is to have good, solid interactions with other human beings. And that's what a lot of these stories, why they're successful and why they're good, is because the writers are tapping into universal human emotions, which is, loss, grief, confusion, coming of age, all that shit. It's all wrapped up into a story that is acted so well that you're like, well, these are real people and these are real things happening, and that makes you sad. And so I think that's why I really like this story more than anything, is that and why I'm a big fan of a lot of the stories coming out of the MCU lately, is that they are very much character driven and relationship driven.
And the action in this show is great. I think also I will say for the finale, it did subvert my expectations, where I feel like a lot of MCU shows, a lot of shows in general, you'd have the big action sequence, and they kind of subvert that, which was, I thought, interesting and
I like
fun.
that too. They kind of made it, they kind of made it more about the powwow.
Who's the guy at the roller derby? What's his name?
Henry Blackcrow was his name in the show.
I really liked him.
Yeah.
I thought he was. The whole cast was really good.
Really the
solid.
fucking the Kingpin. What was it? It's the Kingpin. The way he did.
Yeah, that's
the sign
great.
for the
That's great. That's
Kingpin?
great for audio. That's great for an audio.
Well, why the fuck you let me do it forever?
Just gaslight me, bro. Yeah, no, big fan of this show, but I really had some issues at the end. But
Did you?
Overall, where I don't feel like the ending kind of changed my perspective, like a Moon Knight or something like that. I feel like this show was pretty solid throughout, and I would agree with you. I'd give it a 4 out of 5 if I were to give it on a scale. I would recommend it. It's only 5 episodes.
Don't we have a rating scale?
I haven't used it in forever.
Well, boo, fuck you.
I guess would it be this? Well, boo, fuck you if we hate it, but
Yeah.
if we love it, probably.
Woo yeah, woo yeah.
I thought it was me going, yes,
Oh yeah, you're right.
yes,
That's if we recommend it. So yeah,
I think we
both
get
of
both, yeah.
us.
yes.
Big old thumb up our butts. Anyway,
Big old thumb up your butts, driving down the highway.
all right. That's exciting though. I'm glad that Marvel is getting back to this idea of doing some new things, especially with the Spotlight stuff.
Yeah.
And because we talked about it again briefly last week.
So now, if I
So
remember
this is-
correctly, the Guardians of the Galaxy volume or Christmas special, and then the Werewolf by Night were both Marvel special presentations.
Yes.
Okay.
And so this is the first show that has
Marvel
the Spotlight banner.
Okay. So you had a great idea.
Right. Because I'd seen an article, and I did steal one from Screen Rant because I
Fuck
liked
you.
it. I'm sorry. But they had an interesting article about, like, Spotlight projects because I was doing more research on what this is. And so, yeah, Spotlight essentially is built to be something that you don't need a lot of homework and a lot of knowledge. We talked about it last week on the show. So Echo had like kind of the recap to interweave that character into the rest of the MCU, but I don't think that'll be like that for every show. We know that Wonder Man is going to be a Spotlight project. Most likely Daredevil is going to be a Spotlight project. But the idea is, yeah, you don't need a lot of homework. They're much more character-driven. I feel like
one thing about
shows
like the Echo that they did a really good, and here's where I agree with your argument for an extra episode in a lot of ways, in that the first half of the first episode was basically the recap and adding a couple of extra things. You know what I mean? It was interspersed with stuff that we've already seen. And it was a great way to introduce somebody who had never heard of the character to the character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you've just watched like the movies. If you've never seen I find that hard to believe that you've never seen a Marvel show. But anyway,
Yeah, because I don't know, and even with this, if you're doing something new like they did with Echo, again, I don't know any different.
Dude,
but introducing me to all this other stuff. About
I
the
was in
character.
tears when her mom introduces her to the costume. You know how exquisite the
That's a cool costume. I
the
like
fucking the workmanship that went into that, man. Like, I follow a couple of Native American poke tattoo artists. It's traditional poke tattoos, and it's not, so instead of a needle or whatever, they take like different like shaped wood, and then they dip it, and then they poke your skin.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more. It's more traditional, whatever. But I see a lot of that stuff. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.